All right, folks. So the dovetail joint, it's kind of the mark of fine woodworking. So it's super strong. It's super tight. It's a great joint. It's not terribly hard, but it does take some practice. So today we're going to practice hand cutting dovetail technique. Let's go. Okay, guys. So today we're going to be practicing our basic dovetailing joint. So we're going to grab 2 pieces of scrap wood, pieces that can be thrown away, and we're going to practice just marking and cutting dovetails. So we want to line them up like this. We're just going to mark that shoulder on there. Get a good mark on there, and then we're going to switch it and mark the other side so that we know where to end our cuts. Okay, so we got a nice dark line on there. Time to cut. Okay, so we want to mark our dovetails on here. So we're going to take a combination square, speed square, whatever you want to use here. And we are going to measure our piece. So our piece is roughly 3 inches. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to mark it at the halfway point here, which is going to be for 3 inches. Half of 3 inches is 1.5. So we're going to mark it at the halfway point. Just a small mark there. And then I know that I want to come in about 1/4 of an inch from the edge on this one. So I'm going to mark 1/4 inch on the edge. I'm going to mark 1/4 inch on the other edge. And then I'm going to mark 1/8 of an inch on each side of my center to get that 1/4 inch in the center. Okay. And there's my top marks. Okay. Clamp it down in the old vise. Now, ideally, we're going to use a rip saw. This is a Japanese style dovetail saw. So ideally, we're going to use a rip saw because we are cutting with the grain here. So I'm going to line this up square, 90-degree angle right here. Okay. And I'm going to make just a couple of marks here, a couple of cuts to give myself a nice curve. Now I'm going to take my saw blade and I'm at 90 degrees this way and I'm just going to tip it. Okay? And then I'm going to start cutting down to that shoulder line. Try not to cut past that shoulder line. I'm going to take that same angle if I can hold it. Okay, and I'm going to cut that. Same thing over here. 90 degrees. Give yourself a curve to sit into. Give yourself a slight angling back towards the other cut that you made. Okay, try to keep that the same there. Beauty. Okay, so now we've got our wedges here. We're gonna flip this on its side and we're gonna cut down to those marks. Now we want to stay on the scrap wood side of the line here. We can always chisel down. We want to stay perpendicular to the board, and we don't want to cut into our tail. Flip it. Same thing. Scrap wood side of my line. Keep it perpendicular. And try not to cut into that line. Now, we got this spot in the middle, right here. We want to get rid of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a coping saw. Coping saw, the original scroll saw. Cut down, so we are not going to cut the line here. We want to stay above the line. Okay, we can always chisel down to that line. So there you have it. Coming back over here, we're going to clean this up a little bit with a chisel. So I grab my chisel, and I'm going to clean up this line just a little bit. Right there. Flip it. Clean that up. Now, when you're chiseling, you really don't want to go all the way down to your opposite side. You want to go about halfway down, so because I don't want to produce tear out on the other edge. So we're going to go about halfway down. We're going to flip it and come from the other side. Clean up those edges in there. And it's decent. Okay? Now, we're going to mark these onto the end of this board. So, nice sharp marking pencil here. We've got our shoulders lined up. We're going to mark those on there like so. So then we can see what they look like there. Now, this is super important. When I cut this, this is what I'm trying to remove, right? Because I want that to fit in there. So I'm trying to remove this and remove this. So I want to stay on the inside of this line, on the scrap wood side. If I cut on this side, my dovetails are going to be loose. So we want to cut on the scrap wood side. Okay, back to the vise over here. Lock it in place. Again, dovetail saw staying on the inside of that line. And notice that I am perpendicular, straight up and down, but that I am at an angle to the front of the board. Okay. Again, back to that coping saw, remembering that I want to take these parts out. Don't cut the wrong part out here. We can always chisel that down to that line. All right, and there we go. Got the old pins. Okay, moment of truth. Probably put it in the right direction. Look at it here. Nice and tight. Take our mallet here and blast it in. Again, just practicing those dovetails, getting 2 of them on that little piece of scrap wood. It's a nice solid joint.